My name is Emma, and I'm 24 years old. I have a story about the day I discovered my parents used my entire college fund, money I had been contributing to since I was 16, to buy my unemployed sister a brand new car. What they didn't know was that I had been secretly documenting everything, and I was about to turn their world upside down in ways they never saw coming. My name is Emma, and I'm 24 years old. I have a story that will make your blood boil, but stick with me because the ending will restore your faith in justice. Growing up, I was what you'd call the responsible one. While my older sister Jessica lounged around the house complaining about everything, I was the kid washing dishes without being asked, getting straight A's, and working part-time jobs since I turned 16. My parents always praised Jessica for her creative spirit, which was code for her dropping out of 3 different colleges and refusing to hold down a job for more than 2 months. From the moment I started working at the local grocery store, I made a deal with my parents. Every paycheck, I would give them half to put into a college savings account. They promised to match whatever I contributed, dollar for dollar. I was so proud of this arrangement. While my friends spent their money on clothes and movies, I was investing in my future. Emma's going to be the first in our family to graduate debt-free, my mom would tell her friends. She's so mature for her age. I worked through high school, groceries, babysitting, tutoring younger kids in math. Every single paycheck, half went to my college fund. I calculated that by the time I graduated high school, we'd have around $15,000 saved up. Not enough for 4 years, but a solid foundation. Jessica, meanwhile, was 22 and living rent-free in our basement. She'd wake up at noon, complain that there was nothing good to eat, and spend her days making TikToks that got 12 views. When my parents suggested she get a job, she'd throw tantrums about how the world didn't understand her artistic vision. She's just finding herself, my dad would say whenever I pointed out the obvious unfairness. But here's where things get interesting. During my senior year of high school, I noticed my parents having hushed conversations that would stop the moment I walked into the room. Jessica started acting weird too, suddenly being nice to me, offering to drive me places, asking about my college plans with this fake concerned voice. Something was brewing, and I was about to discover just how deep the betrayal went. The bomb dropped on a Tuesday in March, 3 months before my high school graduation. I came home from my shift at the grocery store, exhausted but proud because I just deposited another $400 into the college fund account. I walked through the front door to find Jessica jumping up and down in the living room like a 5-year-old on Christmas morning. Emma, you have to come see this, she squealed, grabbing my arm. In our driveway sat a brand new Honda Civic. Shiny, silver, with the temporary dealer plates still attached. My parents stood next to it beaming like they just won the lottery. Surprise, my mom shouted. We bought Jessica her first car. I stood there, my work uniform still smelling like the deli counter, trying to process what I was seeing. That's great, I managed to say. How did you guys afford it? My dad's smile faltered for just a second. Well, we've been saving up, he said, not quite meeting my eyes. Something cold twisted in my stomach. Saving up how? Don't worry about the details, sweetheart, my mom said quickly. Isn't it wonderful? Now Jessica can finally get a job since she has reliable transportation. Jessica was already climbing into the driver's seat, taking selfies. Oh my God, I can't wait to show everyone at Starbucks. This is going to get so many likes. That night at dinner, I tried to bring up my college fund. So, with graduation coming up, I was thinking we should review how much we have saved. My parents exchanged a look. That look. The one that parents give each other when they're about to tell their kid that the dog went to live on a farm. About that, my dad started. We need to talk. But that was just the beginning of the conversation that would change everything between us forever. The thing is, Emma, my mom said, setting down her fork, we had to make a difficult decision. My heart was already sinking, but I held on to hope. Maybe they borrowed from the account temporarily. Maybe they had a plan to pay it back. We used the college fund money to buy Jessica's car. The words hit me like a physical blow. You, what? Now, before you get upset, my dad jumped in, hear us out. Jessica needs this car to get a job. Once she's working, she can start contributing to the family. It's an investment in all of our futures. I stared at them, unable to believe what I was hearing. That was my money. I worked for 3 years, it was family money, my mom interrupted. We all sacrifice for each other in this family. Jessica, who had been unusually quiet, finally spoke up. I mean, I didn't ask for this. If Emma's going to be weird about it? I felt my voice rising. I gave you $15,000 of my money. It wasn't 15,000, my dad said quickly. It was more like 12. Because you stopped matching my contributions. I realized. When did you stop putting in your half? The silence that followed told me everything I needed to know. Emma, you're smart, my mom said in that patronizing voice she used when she was about to gaslight me. You can get scholarships. You can take out loans. Jessica needs more help right now. That's when I realized the truth that had been staring me in the face for years. In my family, being responsible and hardworking wasn't rewarded, it was punished. It meant you were the one who could handle disappointment, who could figure things out on your own, who didn't need help because you were so capable. I excused myself from the table and went to my room, but I wasn't going to cry. I was going to plan, because what my parents didn't know was that I had been keeping detailed records of every single contribution I'd made to that account. Bank deposit slips, photos of checks, even text message screenshots where they confirmed receiving my money. I had documentation of everything, and I was about to become their worst nightmare. That night, I sat in my room with my laptop and a box of documents I'd been keeping since I was 16. Call me paranoid, but something about my parents' vague promises had always made me want to keep records. I had bank deposit slips for every single contribution I'd made. Screenshots of text messages where my mom confirmed she'd put my money into the college account. Even a photo of the original contract we'd written together, signed by all three of us, outlining the matching contribution plan. I went through everything. The scope of their betrayal became clear. They hadn't just spent my recent contributions, they'd been raiding the account for months. The car cost $18,000. I had contributed $12,800 over 3 years. Even if they'd only matched half of that, we should have had over $19,000 saved. That they'd spent every penny of my future on Jessica's present, but that wasn't even the worst part. As I dug deeper into the family finances, something I'd never done before but felt justified doing now, I discovered they'd been lying about matching my contributions for over a year. All those times I handed over my paychecks thinking they were doubling in value. The money just went into their general account and was spent on Jessica's credit card bills, her gym membership, her endless shopping trips. I felt sick, but I also felt something else. Determined, I started making copies of everything. I photographed every document, every receipt, every text message. I created a detailed spreadsheet showing every contribution I'd made, when I'd made it, and what the account balance should have been. Then I did something that would prove to be the smartest move of my entire life. I called my grandmother. My dad's mom, Grandma Helen, had always been my favorite family member. She was tough, fair, and had zero tolerance for nonsense. She'd worked 2 jobs to put my dad through college and had strong opinions about people who didn't earn their way. Grandma, I said when she answered, I need to tell you something, and I need your advice. I laid out the whole situation. The years of contributions, the broken promises, the car for Jessica while I faced college debt. The silence on the other end of the phone lasted so long I thought she'd hung up. Those idiots. She finally said. Emma, honey, you listen to me. You're going to college, and you're going debt-free. Can you come see me this weekend? That Saturday, Grandma Helen changed everything. She had a proposal that would turn my parents' world upside down, and she was ready to help me execute it. But first, I needed to set the trap. The confrontation happened on a Sunday morning in April, exactly 2 weeks after Grandma Helen and I had our planning session. I waited until Jessica was out showing off her new car to her friends, then asked my parents to sit down for a family meeting. They looked nervous. They'd been walking on eggshells around me since the car revelation, probably hoping I'd just get over it and move on. I've been thinking about the college situation, I began, pulling out a folder of documents. And I want to make sure we're all on the same page about what happened. My mom immediately went into damage control mode. Emma, sweetie, we know you're disappointed, but I'm not disappointed, I interrupted, opening the folder. I'm curious about the math. I spread out printed bank statements, deposit slips, and my meticulously organized spreadsheet across the coffee table. My parents' faces went pale. According to my records, I contributed $12,800 to the college fund over 3 years. You promised to match every dollar. That should be $25,600, plus interest. But Jessica's car cost $18,000. Where's the remaining $7,600? My dad started to speak, but I held up my hand. Actually, let me answer that. You stopped matching my contributions 18 months ago, didn't you? And you've been spending the money I gave you on Jessica's expenses. Her credit card bills, her gym membership, her shopping trips. I pulled out printed screenshots of their bank account, information Grandma Helen had helped me access through the family account she was listed on for emergencies. This shows Jessica's credit card being paid from the same account where my college contributions were deposited. $347 at Victoria's Secret. $156 at Sephora. $89 at that boutique downtown. My mom's face had gone from pale to red. Emma, you had no right to. I had every right, I said calmly. It was my money. My dad tried a different approach. Look, we made some mistakes, but we can figure this out. You can take out student loans like everyone else. No, I said. I can't. I pulled out the final document, the one that would change everything. I've been accepted to State University with a partial scholarship. I need $15,000 for my first year. Since you spent my college fund, I assumed I'd have to take out loans. But then I talked to Grandma Helen. The mention of my grandmother made both of them freeze. They knew she didn't tolerate nonsense, and they were probably wondering what I'd told her. Grandma Helen was horrified when I told her what happened. So horrified, in fact, that she's decided to pay for my entire 4-year education. Full tuition. Room, board, everything. My parents looked confused. This seemed like good news for everyone. But here's the thing, I continued. She has one condition. I slid the final document across the table. It was a legal contract, drawn up by Grandma Helen's lawyer. She wants you to pay back every penny of my college fund contributions, with interest, before I graduate. If you don't, she's prepared to take legal action for theft and breach of contract. The room went dead silent. My dad picked up the contract with shaking hands. Emma, this is $18,000 with interest and penalties. Exactly the cost of Jessica's car, I said. Funny how that works out. That's when my mom exploded. You vindictive little brat, my mom screamed, jumping up from the couch. How dare you involve your grandmother in this? How dare you make us look like criminals? You are criminals, I said calmly. You stole from me for 3 years. My dad was still reading the contract, his face getting paler by the minute. Emma, we can't pay this back. We don't have $18,000. Then you shouldn't have spent $18,000 that wasn't yours, I replied. But we're your parents, my mom shrieked. Family helps family. You're supposed to understand. I understand perfectly, I said, standing up. I understand that I've been the only one helping this family. I understand that being responsible and hardworking just made me an easy target. And I understand that you thought I'd just roll over and take it because that's what I've always done. My dad set down the contract. What do you want from us, Emma? We can't just magically produce $18,000. I smiled. It was the smile I'd been practicing in the mirror for 2 weeks. You're right. You can't. But you can sell Jessica's car. The suggestion hung in the air like a bomb. Absolutely not, my mom said immediately. Jessica needs that car for work. What work? I asked. She's been unemployed for 6 months. And according to this contract, you have 30 days to make the first payment of $3,000, or Grandma Helen starts legal proceedings. I started packing up my documents. I'm moving in with Grandma Helen next week to start summer classes. When I come back to get the rest of my things, I expect to see a check for $3,000, or Jessica's car listed for sale online. You can't do this to us, my dad pleaded. We're family. You did this to yourselves, I said. When you chose to steal from one daughter to spoil the other. As I headed toward the stairs, my mom called after me. What are we supposed to tell Jessica? I paused on the bottom step and turned around. Tell her that actions have consequences. Tell her that the money for her car came from somewhere, and now it needs to go back. Or tell her nothing, and let her figure it out when you repossess her car. She'll hate us, my dad whispered. Maybe, I said. But she'll respect you. And that's something she's never done before. 3 days later, I got a text from my mom, car is for sale. We need to talk. But I wasn't ready to talk yet. The justice was just beginning. 6 months later, I was sitting in my dorm room at State University, debt-free and thriving, when Jessica called me for the first time since I'd moved out. Emma, she said, and I could hear tears in her voice. I need to talk to you. I almost hung up. I'd spent months building a new life, making friends who valued hard work and integrity, excelling in my classes, and discovering who I was when. I wasn't constantly managing my family's drama, but something in her voice made me listen. I got a job, she said quietly. At a marketing firm downtown. It's entry-level, but it's a real job with benefits and everything. That's great, Jess, I said, meaning it. I had to take the bus for 3 months until I could afford a used car. It was humiliating at first, but then I realized I'd never actually worked for anything before. The bus rides gave me time to think. She paused, and I waited. I'm sorry, Emma. I'm sorry for taking your money. I'm sorry for letting Mom and Dad spoil me while you worked your ass off. I'm sorry for being jealous of how responsible and smart you are instead of trying to be better myself. I felt tears welling up in my eyes. This was the conversation I'd been hoping for but never expected. I've been paying Mom and Dad back too, she continued. $50 a month toward your college fund debt. It's not much, but it's what I can afford right now. Jess, you don't have to. Yes, I do. I benefited from their theft, which makes me complicit. I should have questioned where the money came from. I should have stood up for you. We talked for 2 hours that night. Really talked, maybe for the first time in our lives. She told me about her struggles with depression and feeling worthless compared to me. I told her about the years of resentment and feeling invisible in our family. The next month, my parents called to say they'd made their final payment to Grandma Helen. Dad had taken a second job, and Mom had started selling crafts online. They'd learned to budget, to sacrifice, to work for what they wanted instead of just taking it. We're proud of you, my dad said during that call. We should have said that years ago. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. There was still hurt, still rebuilding to do. But for the first time in my life, I felt like I had a real family, one based on mutual respect instead of enabling and exploitation. I graduated summa cum laude with a degree in business finance and a job offer at a top accounting firm. Jessica finished her first year at her marketing job and got promoted to account coordinator. My parents learned to live within their means and treat both their daughters fairly, but most importantly, I learned that standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. Sometimes the people who love you need to face consequences before they can see how their actions have hurt you. The most important lesson I learned through this entire experience is that being the irresponsible one doesn't mean you have to accept being taken advantage of. For years, I thought that working hard and keeping the peace was what good daughters did. But I realized that allowing people to walk all over you doesn't help them, it actually enables their worst behaviors. Damn, why family is stronger now because I forced them to confront their actions. Jessica is happier and more confident because she learned to stand on her own 2 feet. My parents have a healthier relationship with money and fairness. And I discovered my own strength and self-worth. If you're dealing with toxic family dynamics, financial betrayal, or being the family scapegoat, know that you deserve better. Document everything, seek support from people who truly care about you, and don't be afraid to set boundaries, even with family. Which part of this story surprised you the most? Have you ever had to stand up to family members who were taking advantage of you? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories about overcoming toxic family situations and finding your own strength.